It is a question of substituting the signs of the real for the real. And like everyone who's now at a candlelit table on a date is not doing that and smiling because they're having fun. They're smiling because that's just what you do on a candlelit date. Am I going fucking crazy here, or are we all on the same page? I can't make it more fucking clear than this. Language. Meaning. How does meaning even come about? Let's start there, because I don't get it. I don't get why the whole world's been paved over. This is how you should act. It's kind of what you should do. It's kind of just what people do. Fuck you. It's kind of just what people do. Yeah, fuck you. Let's not kind of do something. What the fuck? Why the fuck are you thinking like that? You're still miserable. You're still more miserable than a tribal man who would have to sleep in the mud and eat insects all day. Recuperated by the dominant ideology. Recuperation. It's like something that was originally subversive gets translated into the code of the dominant system. Oh, poor them. Poor them. I bet they wish they had a toilet. I bet they wish they don't, mate. A toilet without the fucking ideology on the back of it. I'll take one of those. But it's all completely changed the way that we think, such that we're all fucking depressed. And it doesn't matter if you've got hot water, mate. In fact, that kind of makes it worse. Because then you start getting water companies involved in your life. And, there you go. One step removed. Where's the toilet ideology? Well, your toilet requires a plumber, which requires a company, which requires a... Fucking hell, mate. And when something breaks, you've got to submit a fixed flow report and put in all your information and your date of birth and then schedule over email with and your entire fucking life is ruled by the tools of capital, by the medium. I think the way I make these videos is by letting something ride me. Letting an impersonal force ride me. And I think that's the only way to deal with life in today's day and age, is to just be a collection of impersonal forces. And if you look at things in terms of having a personality or being an individual or like having an Instagram or any of these kinds of things, you're already checkmated by the dominant ideology of the time, which in our time is capitalism, and it's basically made all those things simulations, is what Baudrillard would say, like distractions from an actual reality, right? They're all distractions, and like even this idea of personality and having a personality is a distraction, and we're all obsessed with it. How do I have a personality? How do I be confident? How do I be a person? And people suck at it, because they're doing the simulated answer to that. Capital's like, post to Instagram this frequently, have a LinkedIn, go work at this company, go out at these places on the weekend, have this type of lifestyle, and you'll be a person. And you're literally just taking exactly what the reality is prescribing to you. This is the idea of the video game, playing the video game, or the medium is the message. It's as simple as that. You're playing a video game because you're just doing what you were born to do under this system that you have no control over. And so you're completely replaceable. You're simulatable. Like I can, compute you. You're a tractable problem, mate. You're just a shit algorithm because capital's completely walled off any like freedom or free will or and it's so predictable how you're going to move and act and even think about things. And it's like we can get 101 other dickheads to get on the tube every day to go to work and to buy the same fucking bullshit outfit and to do all the same bullshit, You get my point. So anyway, what does it mean to question the video game then? What does it mean to not do that and not take the prescription? How do you actually get originality? Isn't the whole, like, where does simulation stop and start? Fine, we can almost all agree that, like, a lot of aesthetics today are simulated aesthetics. Like, a goth girl aesthetic is just them embodying a goth girl aesthetic. It's not them. The whole point was it was meant to be an expression of who you are, whatever it might be. But then it got what sociologists call recuperated by the dominant ideology. Recuperation. It's like something that was originally subversive gets translated into the code of the dominant system, so it looks the exact same, but it's not the same thing. It's now in terms of the dominant system. Like, goth used to be this thing which was reflective of, like, you know, a deep nihilism at the world. I know nothing about goth. Another good example is like the skater boy aesthetic, you know, where you actually see people embodying these things. What does it mean? Those are like very easy examples. So we can all get on that. We can all get on this idea that those are some examples of things which are simulated aesthetics. That's what that means. And they've been recuperated into capitalism. And they've lost their original subversive power, but they look the same. They've lost their original subversive power, but they look the same. It is a question of substituting the signs of the real for the real. That is to say, of an operation of deterring every real process via its operational double. A programmatic, meta-stable, not really stable, but being kept stable artificially, perfectly descriptive machine that offers all the signs of the real and short circuits all its vicissitudes. Never again will the real have the chance to produce itself. Such is the vital function of the model in a system of death, or rather of anticipated resurrection, that no longer even gives the event of death a chance. McLuhan has said with his usual Canadian Texan brutalness that Marx, the spiritual contemporary of the steam engine and railroads, was already obsolete in his lifetime with the appearance of the telegraph. In his candid fashion, he is saying that Marx, in his materialist analysis of production, had virtually circumscribed productive forces as a privileged domain from which language, science, and communication in general found themselves excluded. In fact, Marx does not even provide for a genuine theory of railroads as media, as modes of communication. They hardly enter into consideration. So, like, laying down railroads in Marxist theory just counts for, like, boosting aggregate demand. Right, he's playing the game of production. He's a socialist, but he still thinks of everything in terms of productive forces. Well, what's the thing that's making him think in terms of productive forces? Shouldn't we be analyzing that thing? Like, why is he thinking in those terms? That's what ideology is. So you've got Marx here, like, strung up like Jesus, in a cross formation, but it's done on a gear wheel to signify classical industry. So he's a slave to his own conceptions. He's part of the turning wheels of capital, but he can only see like one wheel. He can't see the bigger picture, the mirror of production. The way that he's thinking is just a reflection of the world that he's come to expect. The world that we've all come to expect. That's the mirror. That's the model. That's the medium. Now that we're clear on that very useful term, Marx didn't understand any of that. He circumscribed them as productive forces as a privileged domain from which language, science, and communication in general found themselves excluded. So language, science, and communication never factored into any Marxian analysis. And then these dickheads came along and like Clearly thinking about things in terms of productive forces wasn't working. So then we just started from proper square one, because this thing is really fucking toxic, this capitalism thing. And none of our theorists are getting through it. Let's just start from square one and see where we went wrong. Language. Meaning. How does meaning even come about? Let's start there, because I don't get it. I don't get why the whole world's been paved over. And railroads actually, probably have more impact on society in terms of how much they shrink the world communicationally than in terms of what goods they're shipping. And in the limit, what happens? You get railroads, then you get phone calls, then you get Instagram, then you get TikTok, then you get live streaming. And in the limit, what happens? Baudrillard puts forward 3 hypotheses in the first chapter of his book, The Illusion of the End. In that first chapter, called Pataphysics of the Year 2000, he puts forward 3 hypotheses as to what happened to history and reality. He opens with a quote by Elias Canetti. A tormenting thought, as of a certain point, history was no longer real. Without noticing it, all mankind suddenly left reality. Everything happening since then was supposedly not true, but we supposedly didn't notice. Our task would now be to find that point, and as long as we didn't have it, we would be forced to abide in our present destruction. Like, where did it all go wrong? Square one. Why are people not waking up? That's what all of this was, and it just got more and more abstract and artistic the older he got, and the more things stayed the same, and the more that everything they tried didn't work, and all the theories pointed to this thing Baudrillard is doing is the best of his era, and the best he can do is just describe it. He didn't know how to counteract it. That's why we're in the position we are in today. We are he predicted the world perfectly. A revolutionary predicts the world correctly and then does something to change the prediction so that it does not come true. That's a revolutionary. A revolutionary is not concerned with making themselves look good. A revolutionary is concerned with genuinely changing the future, setting the world on a different course. He wasn't a revolutionary, we're still where we are today. We're in his perfectly predicted future. So this first chapter is also about that. Pataphysics was like this. Essentially all it is conspiracy theory as method. That's what pataphysics is. What does that mean? It means using traditional fiction as reality, because the thing that they're claiming is reality is also turned to fiction. That's called hyperreality. So you've got like the human canon of fictive works that we all know aren't true, aren't real, like Spider-Man. Outside of that, there's real TV, reality TV. So reality TV does that in the media world. And it lays claim to be showing you the real as opposed to showing you the fictive, as in traditional cinema or television. Showing you reality. Like, what? That's... I don't know. This is a really good passage. This is how all holdups, airplane hijackings, etc., are now in some sense simulation holdups, in that they are already inscribed in the decoding and orchestration rituals of the media. Perfect sum up. This is a perfect sum. Anticipated in their presentation and their possible consequences. In short, where they function as a group of signs dedicated exclusively to their recurrence as signs, and no longer at all to their real end. This does not make them harmless. On the contrary, it is as hyperreal events, no longer with a specific content or end, but indefinitely refracted by each other, just like so-called historical events, strikes, demonstrations, crises, etc. It is in this sense that they cannot be controlled by an order that can only exert itself on the real and the rational, on causes and ends, a referential order that can only reign over the referential, a determined power that can only reign over a determined world, but that cannot do anything against this indefinite recurrence of simulation, against this nebula whose weight no longer obeys the laws of gravitation of the real. Power itself ends by being dismantled in this space and becoming a simulation of power, disconnected from its ends and its objectives and dedicated to the effects of power and mass simulation. I really want to drive one thing home here when you're reading this passage, just this paragraph. I think it perfectly sums up hyperreality. The key takeaway is that it's not even intelligent. The thing controlling us is literally like not, it doesn't have any sentience. It's the object world winning out over us. Completely neutral. You'll find every type of politics in the media. You'll get leftist articles, you'll get right articles, you'll get served just what you want. They're not suppressing anything, not really. Because and then there's all this outrage about like, you know, suppression of Palestine, whatever. No, they don't give a fuck. You will get served it, man. You will get served it. That's fine. The Israeli will get served his Israeli propaganda. The Palestinian will get served their Palestinian propaganda. And that's the key idea. It's all propaganda. It's all propaganda because what are you going to do with your energy? You're going to walk out in the streets, get some photos for Instagram, and then post it on Instagram and make more propaganda for free. You're being told how to live. You're being told how you should react to something like Palestine. You're being told how you should react to something like anything in life. You're being told how you should react when you go to the cinemas, when you go to a restaurant, when you walk down the street. This is how you should act. It's kind of what you should do. It's kind of just what people do. Fuck you. It's kind of just what people do. Yeah, fuck you. Let's not kind of do something. What the fuck? That's the code. That's how pathetic it is. That's capital. It's just like, looks the exact same, looks really similar to what the original thing was. I.e., you go on a date and you really smile because you're really enjoying yourself, and the candlelight really flickers in such a way that just sets the romance of the evening perfectly, and whatever, right? There's a difference between doing that and doing that, right? Do you know what I mean? And like everyone who's now at a candlelit table on a date is not doing that and smiling because they're having fun. They're smiling because that's just what you do on a candlelit date. Am I going fucking crazy here, or are we all on the same page? I can't make it more fucking clear than this. This does not make them harmless. On the contrary, it is as hyperreal events, no longer with a specific content or end, but indefinitely refracted by each other. So the simulated date isn't optimizing for something else. It's just left. It's not optimizing for anything. You're just doing something that you're not actually doing. And that becomes your entire life. That becomes the entirety of reality. It is in this sense that they cannot be controlled by an order. So the way that we still think about things and the way that our law works and the way that like people interact with each other is still in like terms of the real and the rational, on causes and ends. And okay, everything out there is fine, so it's all fine. Like, you know, this really okay, yeah, we've got materially everything is kept just good enough. Why the fuck are you thinking like that? You're still miserable. You're still more miserable than a tribal man who would have to sleep in the mud and eat insects all day. People say that, and they're like, and then, you know, and then we do the thing of like, oh, poor them. Poor them. I bet they wish they had a toilet. I bet they wish they don't, mate. A toilet without the fucking ideology on the back of it. I'll take one of those. But it's all completely changed the way that we think, such that we're all fucking depressed. And it doesn't matter if you've got hot water, mate. In fact, that kind of makes it worse. Because then you start getting water companies involved in your life. And, you know, there you go. One step removed. Where's the toilet ideology? Well, your toilet requires a plumber, which requires a company, which requires a... Fucking hell, mate. And when something breaks, you've got to submit a fixed flow report and put in all your information and your date of birth and then schedule over email with and your entire fucking life is ruled by the tools of capital, by the medium. And you live it through a phone or a laptop, or you live it through the bureaucratic medium of capital, making you view everything as like atomized and making you view yourself as an individual number on the page. And you get called on the school roll call, and you get, you know,